Hi guys, Shopper back once again with another mint in box. And today we're going to be looking at the Power Rangers Lightning Collection SPD Shadow Ranger from Hasbro. Hasbro have now acquired the Power Rangers license, and the first thing they did out of the gate was to crap all over the previous license holders' efforts. Because let me tell you, with just one release, just with the Shadow Rangers release, this is better than most of the Bandai figures that I've played with in a long time. I love this guy. This is such a huge step up, and because it's Hasbro, it's at an affordable price point. This is £20. It's along the same lines as the Marvel Legends, and it's of comparable quality. Yes, you're going to get the QC issues. I've heard tale of many people, and even this is not immune to it, but we'll get into that. You're going to take a look at the box art, and it's got this gorgeous bust of the Shadow Ranger. I forget who the artist is, but he's on Twitter and he marks out every time he sees these in store, and fair play to him, because it's gorgeous artwork, and to have it on a physical thing you can go out and buy, that's just brilliant. Nice window display, highlights what you're getting in the box itself, and yeah, that's about your lot. Just a nice render of the Shadow Ranger, his weapon and the effects part included. And yeah, just warnings, this toy is too good. But that's enough about the box. Let's take a look at the toy inside. Inside the pack you get the Shadow Ranger himself, an alternate head sculpt with an extra bit to fill in the gaps. Here's SPD Morpher, the Shadow Blade, 2 interchangeable hands, and an effects part for the sword itself. For a little background, the Shadow Ranger is Anubis Doggy Kruger, the last son of Sirius and duly appointed good boy of Space Patrol Delta. He is a fantastic character, and I'm glad to have a really nice rendition of his character. The SPD figure art sadly missed out on this character, and I think including him in the first wave of the Lightning Collection was a big coup for Hasbro. Just going to take a look at the figure's articulation. You've got a very nice ball jointed head, very nice range of movement, though the collar might hinder that a little, so that's something to be aware of. You've got a lot of range in his shoulder. You have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, a wrist swivel, a wrist hinge, and that applies for all of the interchangeable hands. You've got a decent torso ball joint, but also an ab crunch thrown into the mix. You have ball jointed legs, a thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and hinged feet. So already we're off to a fantastic start, because this is on par with what Hasbro puts out with their Marvel Legends line in terms of articulation. Just to give you a comparison, here is the MMPR black figure arts. It stands a fair bit taller, but given Doggy's statuesque nature, that's kind of to be expected. So if you put this guy next to the SPD figure arts, you're going to have a very intimidating looking commander, and that's pretty good. The articulation is comparable, it's just a little different and at a cheaper price point. So I think this is a very viable alternative to figure arts. Granted, Bandai hasn't put out a Sentai figure arts in what, 3 years? So yeah, this is your high-end collector's figure. We can show you how his interchangeable hands function. They've got a very nice deep rod penetrating into his arm, phrasing, but that means you're not likely to just wreck the entire thing swapping his hands out. and you can do so fairly easily. And swap them out for a fist and some pointy fingers for a pose that I am struggling to remember at the moment, but it's very nicely sculpted. The fist is all purpose, so it can go with anything, but we're going to swap back to the original hands for now, because now we're going to get into his accessories, well, his holding accessories, because for this hand we have a tiny SPD morpher, which is sadly misprinted because the tampograph is printed on the back side of the morpher when it should have been printed there. Whoopsie. But all things considered, forgivable, though I have seen people be less forgiving of it, but it's perfectly fine as it is. It's just a little disappointing is all. He holds it very nicely. It's a shame there's nowhere to really store it, but it's good for pictures. His blade is very nicely rendered with the Howling Wolf handguard. I forget what it's called. Tell me in the comments what that part of the sword is called, because I'm not going to remember by the end of this review. But he holds it in his hand very nicely and it looks pretty cool. Very intimidating. And you can add on this little effect part. Adding effect parts to this line was a great idea because it gives it the same kind of prestige that the figure arts had, but at the same time doing it in a very different way, because that swirling energy is taken right out of the show, I believe. Like when the wolf head opens up, it swirls around the blade and cleans it off because it's been rusted over for so many years. But it's a very, very cool effect, pulsating with power. Plus you could use this on any other sword that comes out of the line, presumably. And finally we come to the main event, because every Lightning Collection Ranger figure will come with an alternate head sculpt which will show the unhelmeted face of the Ranger, usually within the likeness of the actor portraying them. Though I don't believe they're using digital scanning technology, they're using just regular old sculptors to give more of a caricature of the Ranger, so it's got a kind of unique feel to it, I think. To swap heads, it's as simple as popping off the helmet. We'll bring in the neck part, which will slide over the costume neck, and then we'll replace it with Doggy's head. And man, that looks amazing. Like, yeah, the jokes of how can this dog fit his face into that helmet? Who cares? It's Power Rangers, and Doggy Kruger does not answer to you. He is your superior, and he looks fantastic. I got the Shadow Ranger figure purely based on this head sculpt. Like, yeah, I like the Dino Charge Ranger. Yeah, I like Lord Zed. White Ranger. This guy, all day, yes. Because the Shadow Ranger is a cool looking suit, and Anubis Doggo Kruger is a fantastic character that I am glad to have on my shelf, joining my other Ranger figures. He's just so amazing. This is a brilliantly robust release from the first wave of the Lightning Collection, and I cannot wait to see where the line goes from here. As always, I've been Sharpo. This has been the SPD Shadow Ranger from the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection. And I'll catch you guys next time for another mint in box.